Feet. Most of us have them and most of us take them for granted. Their job is to carry our sorry carcasses around, get the occasional shower, and if they're lucky, have their old nails sawn off once they start poking through our socks. Feet get a bad rap because they get stinky. Whew. However, it's not their fault, it's the fault of bacteria. Tiny little organisms that live between your toes, under your toenails, in your shoes, in your dirty socks, farting out stinky vapours and molecules. Pooey! Bacteria love foot sweat, and that's because foot sweat contains everything a bacteria needs to flourish. It's damp, it's full of proteins, sugars, salts, amino acids. It's a veritable smorgasbord for them. And also, your toes tend to live in the environment that bacteria also like, which is dark, damp places. And let's not forget the other lover of dark, dank places, fungus. Fungus is particularly gross. Not only can it infect your nails, but also the surrounding tissues and your nail bed itself. Blah. All of this is a veritable playground for these organisms. They've got plenty of food, a lovely living environment where they can eat and poop all day long. Now, not only are your feet going to suffer, but also your shoes. Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. Today I'm going to talk about recovering these shoes and trainers and how you can prevent them getting whiffy in the first place. Let's start with some of the things you will have already tried. Deodorant. Now, deodorant does not work, does it? You know why? Because it doesn't kill bacteria. It merely masks the smell with a even worse smell. In fact, I'm not going to make any comments on Lynx Excite because I don't actually use it, but it stinks like a teenager locker room. Now, in the same way that toilet deodorants don't work, in fact what they end up doing is making your bathroom smell like shit and chemicals, this will just make your trainers smell like feet plus chemicals. Do not use it. The second thing you might try is Febreze. Oh, now it's not particularly unpleasant a smell, it's a kind of a Febreze smell and it comes in different scents, but you really want to know how Febreze work. The molecules in Febreze actually bond with the molecules in those stinky volatile substances. So if you can imagine, this is a Febreze molecule and this is a stink molecule, they merge. Now, in your nose you've got receptors that actually smell stink molecules. Because now they are bonded, you cannot smell them. However, they're still there. Okay, so it's basically as if you've got a magic powder that you've sprinkled or sprayed onto a turd and you can no longer smell the turd, however, turd molecules are going in your nose. You do not want that. It is actually disguising the fact that the crap is still there. Another popular stalwart is talcum powder or bicarb. There's a lot of people use this, you see it in the gym, and they just love to just powder it on everywhere, sprinkle it all over the place, make a mess. Now have a think about what you're actually doing here. This is some talcum powder, this is some water, just a couple of drops. And if I just massage this a little bit, you'll see I'm actually making a talcum powder paste. So this is what's actually forming in your shoes because that's mixing with the sweat of your feet and the water that you've just showered in. So this talcum powder paste will sit in your shoes and malinger and actually get pushed into the fabric and fibres of your shoes, blocking up the holes in your shoes that would otherwise allow at least a little bit of air to transition in. Now what happens is bacteria will soon start to live in this paste and create even more stink. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do not use talcum powder in your shoes. Freeze your shoes. So if you take your shoes, pop them in a freezer bag, chuck them into your freezer, wait, I don't know, a day, a couple of days, however long it takes to freeze shoes, the bacteria inside the shoes will be dead. Well, sorry to alert you to this, but the bacteria will be happily alive when you take that out. Just have a think about it. When you put raw chicken and raw beef into the fridge, do you just pop that out and gnaw on it because the freezing process has killed all the bugs in it? No, that's because the bugs do not die. The bugs actually remain dormant in that frozen state, but they're still there. And just as they're still there on that manky chicken breast in the back of your fridge, they're going to be there in your trainers. So you'll take them out, they'll warm up, soon reactivate, stink. Put your trainers into the washing machine. because clearly if you throw them in, it will work. They'll go around and they'll come out and they'll look lovely and clean, especially if they've been particularly dirty beforehand. But let's have a think of what you're doing. You're actually getting them into the machine and agitating them. That sounds good. The detergent is getting in there, getting into those pores, hopefully attacking the bacteria, hitting them. Right, but just think what you've just done now. Not only have you introduced a chemical into your shoes that's actually going to be lingering in there because it's going to be hard to rinse, you're damaging the fabric and fibres of your shoes, and you've just introduced a whole metric ton of moisture into your trainers that you've got to dry out. Now that poses a problem. You dry them out too quickly by using the radiator, you risk damaging the shoes and shrinking them. If you now then allow the trainers to air dry in a less than optimal environment, you're going to suffer the risk of mildew and mould actually settling in from the environment around the shoes. There's no point recovering your trainers if you're not really taking care of your feet. So let's cover the basics first. Get your feet washed at least once, if not twice a day, using an antibacterial soap. Yeah, no brainer, get onto it, it'll work. If your feet are particularly sweaty, consider using one of these powerful antiperspirants, not the sort of spray kind you get. Get one of these. This is Dry Colour. There's also anhydrol forte. There's a whole bunch of these, and this contains 20% aluminium chloride hexahydrate. You know it's serious because when you put it on, it's slightly stingy, and you only need to apply it once every week or 2 weeks, no matter how sweaty you are. These are actually really good value for money. The tube looks quite expensive, but it will last you forever. So really, maybe massage some of that into your feet and between your toes. Be a bit careful though. You know, do it in a small area first in case you have a little reaction. But generally, this stuff is absolutely fantastic. If you notice your nails yellowing, you might have a foot fungus. And for this, I advise something like this. This is a big old bottle of tea tree oil. You can get it online, and I think this will probably set you about a tenner for a whole bunch of it. Now, there's obviously precaution has to be taken because it's used neat, it could cause skin irritations. However, I found in the past one single drop on each toenail in the morning will soon resolve that foot fungus. In fact, just put it on your nail. You'll notice a slight discoloration in your nail because you've got the fungus. It takes several weeks, but you'll notice that will go as the nail grows out. When the nail's grown out, there'll be nothing there because you've eliminated it. Not only that, you get a nice tea tree smell, so you know it's working. And this also sort of gives your foot a sort of shield of bacterial protection. Be careful again with it in case you are a little bit irritated by it. If you are, you can mix this with a carrier oil. Just look online and see what other people are mixing it with, probably baby oil or something like that to dilute it down a little bit. But say, I've got away with it using it neat on nails. Bacteria and fungus find it extremely difficult to survive in dry conditions. So that's why it's always so important to dry your feet thoroughly before you put on your socks and shoes. It's also advisable that every day, if you can, you rotate your shoes. So that means when you get home, take your shoes off, put them somewhere like an airing cupboard to dry out, and the next day just wear a different pair. Some of you might have enough to wear a different pair every other day. Some of you might have enough pairs to wear a different pair every day for a month. I actually opt also for a dehumidifier. If you can have a small room in your house to put a small dehumidifier, it not only makes a great room for drying clothes, but if you have your shoes in there at the same time, it will make sure your shoes are dry. Don't feel bad though, however, despite all these precautions, you end up with a stinky pair of shoes. It's not unknown for them to turn. Frankly, one long day, maybe 10 hours worth of use in the summer, and your feet are particularly sweaty and stinky, and your shoes have just captured enough bacteria, they've really taken root, and now you've got that stinky pair, and you're scared now to put that pair on because you'll transfer that stink to your other pairs. It's not uncommon. So now for the next part of my video, I'm going to tell you about how to actually recover those stinky shoes with something that you can make at home. So if you want a surefire way to recover your shoes and restore them back to their acceptable levels of smell and ensure that there's no bacteria in there, You have to harness the power of ozone. Yes, ozone, the famous gas from the famous ozone layer. This is a pretty unstable gas. It's a highly oxidizing gas, so that does technically make it a little bit toxic. So you want to be careful about this, but not be alarmed by it. You know, in the same way that you're not going to spray a lynx into your mouth, you're not going to suck on the end of an ozone generator. Now, what ozone does, because it's oxidizing, it actually steals electrons for a thing it's touched. So you've heard of free radicals. This is pretty much the ultimate free radical, and what you're going to be doing is trapping your shoes, your trainers, in a box with a bunch of ozone gas. And what ozone gas does, when it hits a bacteria, it actually sort of takes a nibble, you know, it takes a nibble out of the side of its cell wall and damages it. And before long, those bacteria are bombarded by so much ozone gas, they all die. Now, don't be worried, you're not going to die. Unless, again, as I said, you're sucking on the end of something toxic. Please don't do that. Now, how this will work is that I'll show you what I've built. I've actually built an ozone generator in a box, unsurprisingly, and it works marvelously well. Something just a note, if you're wondering what ozone smells, tastes or sounds like, it sounds like lightning. That's because when you hear a thunder lightning storm and you have that smell in the air, you know, that fizzy smell? That fizzy smell is ozone gas. And in the small quantities we'll be using, you're not going to be harmed by it. It's a pretty simple process, really. I have here one regular cardboard box. There's nothing too special about that. And I have a pair of stinky trainers. So all I do really is just pop those in the box, and then you need something like this. This is a small portable ozone generator, and it's hard to show you in there what's actually going on, but whilst this thing is running, it's actually got a little lightning arc inside that will be bright purple corona discharge, and that's emitting ozone, and there's a fan in here to blow this out. In fact, if I take a whiff of this, yep, it does smell like lightning, so that's how you know the gas is there. So really just place this into the box and turn it on. It's whirring away now, and then I just shut the lid. That's all there is to it. Just to keep that gas in, I'll put this very impressive pile of paper on top. And that's literally all you have to do. You just go away, leave this running in this box for, I would suggest, a day. It's not going to really use up much power. It'll be using pennies at best. And then when you're done, turn off your ozone generator, or better yet, swap in your current pair of shoes, and you've got your nicely treated trainers. So now I'm going to describe a little bit what I smell, because these are actually in the box earlier. I know I said they were stinky, but they've actually been in a day. Now, clearly, if these were really ripe, I wouldn't be getting my nose into them so hard. I'm not a foot fetishist, and I definitely don't like trainer stink. I'm a bit anti-trainer stink. But I can tell you there's no trace at all of the smell anymore. I mean, these are my one pair of trainers that had actually turned. They've turned like a zombie, and yeah, it's just worked. And it's cost pennies. The unit itself, I think, are probably about £15–20 on the internet. It works great. I do it in the back office here or garage. You could just do it in a room that you're not occupied at night, in case you're worried about smelling that ozone gas. For me, I think the little bit that you get off the trainers, you know, that's fine. You can smell that it's been working, and that will soon dissipate out in the air. So the scientists among you will know that ozone's got a very short half-life. So after you've taken them out of the box and they've aired for a couple of minutes, you've got no problem popping them on your feet and going about your business. So I hope this has been of some use to you. I really look forward to hearing your comments down below, perhaps from you or your happy family now they don't have to put up with the whiff. Please feel free to click subscribe, and as ever, thanks for watching.